What kind of demon was it? Even Jesus dared not look at him, and humanity was destroyed, leaving not a single bone intact. At night, a priest, cradling a baby, ran to Jesus, begging for God's forgiveness, because a demon resided within the infant. To save the world, the baby's life had to be ended. Just as the priest was about to act, the police rushed in. After their warnings were ignored, they shot and killed the priest. They quickly checked on the baby, who then revealed a sinister smile. The boy grew into adulthood, and strangely, the demon within him did not awaken. He even became a priest. People possessed by demons were sent here for exorcism rituals. The abbot then arranged a single room for him and told him not to go out at night because evil spirits roamed the area. After the abbot left, Dean took out a pistol. It turned out his true identity was a police officer. Someone had reported that the recently missing girls were connected to this monastery. At dinner time, Dean looked at the disgusting food and had to force himself to eat it. During the exorcism, the abbot examined the possessed girl, then tied her to an iron bed. He sprinkled holy water, and the demon-possessed girl reacted. She began to scream, and the crucifix burst into flames. Dean watched in astonishment. Unexpectedly, the image of Jesus also changed. After the exorcism ritual, Dean quickly spat out the food he had hidden in his mouth, but he found something else in his mouth. He pulled out a tooth, and a fly was hidden inside the tooth. It seemed the food was not simple. Dean sneaked into the abbot's office. He found a used syringe, and then found a hidden mechanism. If you stepped on it, the bed would shake, and the crucifix was just a lighter. After returning, Dean put the crucifix in the cabinet, and sat on the bed, thinking all night. How many more secrets were hidden here? Looking at the disgusting breakfast, Dean hesitated. The vice dean seemed to read his mind. To avoid suspicion, Dean forced himself to eat the disgusting food. The next second, he pulled a clump of hair from his mouth. When he returned to his room, he found the crucifix he had hidden in the closet, now hanging on the wall. Dean realized he was being watched. He wanted to leave immediately, but found the exit was blocked, and to his horror, he saw the priests burying bodies. Dean went to the room where the girl was being held, but found a pool of blood. It seemed the girl was dead. Just then, Vice Dean Jack told Dean to wait for him in the confessional. Although suspicious, Dean went anyway. Jack secretly told him that the dean was watching him, and knew what he was looking for, because he had also tried to escape before, but still hadn't regained his freedom. After hearing this, Dean told Jack his true identity, and asked him to help him investigate the missing persons case. Jack agreed to help Dean collect evidence, but demanded that he be rescued as well. Back in his room, Dean found the wardrobe had been moved. He pushed the wardrobe aside, and found a hole in the wall. Dean reached in and carefully felt around, and found something resembling an eyeball. The eyeball gently rotated, and Dean immediately vomited a large amount of black liquid. A swarm of flies hatched from it. The next second, looking closely again, there was nothing there. Dean realized the eyeball was playing tricks on him, so he stomped on it, crushing it. He dug up the coffin, but it was empty. Dean was stunned. Just then, he's been kidnapped. When Dean woke up, he was tied to the bed. The gun indicated that his identity had been discovered. The dean and his men came in, and forced him to eat several bowls of meat. As for what kind of meat it was, I'm sure everyone already knows. Dean struggled to break free of his restraints, but the next second, the two quickly began fighting. Finally, Dean grabbed a pistol and defeated the guard. Just then, Vice Dean Jack found Dean and told him he had made a major discovery. It turned out that the people here were cultists. Their goal was to summon a demon. They believed Dean was the vessel for the demon. If Dean ate the flesh and blood of 7 women and swallowed the blood of a virgin girl, the demon within Dean would be awakened. Dean chose to believe him. Dean followed him into a secret passage, but as soon as they reached a wide open space, Dean was knocked to the ground. Only then did he realize Jack's conspiracy. They then tied Dean to a wooden stake. All the cultists arrived. If Dean drank the blood of a virgin girl, the demon would be awakened. The dean poured the blood into Dean's stomach and then loudly chanted a spell. Strangely, Dean showed no reaction. The scene became extremely tense. Awkward. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but wonder, was the legend just a joke? To eliminate any future trouble, Jack ended Dean's life with a single blow, and threw him into a dry well. That night, Jack murdered the drunken headmaster, and then naturally took his place. Just then, a fly flew out of the headmaster's nose, and then flew into the dry well, resurrecting the already dead Dean. Then Dean's body began to change, gradually transforming into a demon. Meanwhile, Jack was performing a ritual for the headmaster. Suddenly his body rose into the sky. The next second, countless flies flew out of his body, and the culprit was none other than Jack, now a demon. He let out a piercing scream. Time froze. Even Jesus showed a helpless expression. The demon opened its arms. The next second, everyone slowly rose into the air, forming a bizarre inverted cross shape. Then the whole world turned upside down, and an even more powerful evil force rushed towards Earth. A woman simply wanted to use the restroom, but unexpectedly, 3 men dragged her into a dark room, tortured her for several days, and then she stopped breathing. Only then did they discover that the woman was pregnant. Fearing she would become a vengeful ghost, the 3 men hammered a steel nail into the back of her neck, and then buried her on a desolate mountain. However, decades later, this land was developed, and the woman's body reappeared. Even more terrifying, the woman's body hadn't decomposed at all. The foreman wanted to call the police, but the boss stopped him, because the the boss was afraid it would affect his business. But this was clearly the legendary soul-suppressing nail. The foreman arranged for a worker to bury the body on the desolate mountain. However, when the worker opened the sack, he found that the body hadn't decomposed. He felt sorry for her and decided to give her a proper burial. However, he saw that there was a nail in her neck. Since he didn't know what the nail was for, he pulled it out, which brought disaster to the construction site. The woman followed him to the construction site. At night, the workers were resting when they were suddenly woken up by the security guard. The security guard asked him if the woman had been cremated. The worker casually said she had been cremated, and the security guard was relieved. After all the workers fell asleep, the woman sneaked out and kept fiddling with the nail. Clearly, the three scoundrels from decades ago had already passed away, so she decided to take revenge on their descendants. The next day, while the foreman was eating, he suddenly felt something stuck in his throat. He coughed frantically for a long time, but it was no use. The security guard noticed something was wrong and quickly patted the foreman's back. As a result, the foreman coughed up a nail. A woman simply wanted to use the restroom, but unexpectedly, three men dragged her into a dark room, tortured her for several days, and then she stopped breathing. Only then did they discover that the woman was pregnant. Fearing she would become a vengeful ghost, the three men hammered a steel nail into the back of her neck and then buried her on a desolate mountain. However, decades later, this land was developed and the woman's body reappeared. Even more terrifying, the woman's body hadn't decomposed at all. The foreman wanted to call the police, but the boss stopped him because the boss was afraid it would affect his business. But this was clearly the legendary soul-suppressing nail. The foreman arranged for a worker to bury the body on the desolate mountain. However, when the worker opened the sack, he found that the body hadn't decomposed. He felt sorry for her and decided to give her a proper burial. However, he saw that there was a nail in her neck. Since he didn't know what the nail was for, he pulled it out, which brought disaster to the construction site. The woman followed him to the construction site. At night, the workers were resting when they were suddenly woken up by the security guard. The security guard asked him if the woman had been cremated. The worker casually said she had been cremated, and the security guard was relieved. After all the workers fell asleep, the woman sneaked out and kept fiddling with the nail. Clearly, the three scoundrels from decades ago had already passed away, so she decided to take revenge on their descendants. The next day, while the foreman was eating, he suddenly felt something stuck in his throat. He coughed frantically for a long time, but it was no use. The security guard noticed something was wrong and quickly patted the foreman's back. As a result, the foreman coughed up a nail. The foreman coughed up a nail. The security guard was so frightened he couldn't sleep because the nail was in the neck of a female corpse. Suddenly, the nail moved. The security guard felt something was wrong. He woke Dean up. He asked Dean if he had burned the corpse. Dean had to tell the truth. It turned out that he not only hadn't burned the corpse, but he had also pulled the nail out of its neck. The security guard was furious because this nail was the legendary soul-binding nail. To prevent a tragedy from happening, they prepared to put the nail back in. However, the corpse had disappeared. It seemed the woman had been resurrected. The security guard immediately scolded Dean. Then he prepared to tell the boss about it. However, the woman had already set her sights on him. He quickly turned around, but there was nothing there. The next second, during lunch, the boss was shouting about speeding up the construction progress. At this time, Dean suggested that the boss give him a raise. He ended up getting beaten up. Then the boss left the construction site, and the woman followed him into the car. After returning to the villa, he planned to take a bath. At this moment, a head slowly emerged from the water. The woman instantly dug out his heart. The next day, a corpse was also found at the construction site. The security guard's heart had also been dug out. Dean was instantly terrified, so he told them about the nail. The foreman realized the seriousness of the situation. He had to hire an exorcist. Due to a series of mysterious deaths at the construction site, the foreman hired an exorcist. After the exorcist's ritual, it was revealed that decades ago, a pregnant woman had died there, tortured to death by thugs. Because the pregnant woman's resentment was deeper than that of ordinary people, the three men sealed the woman's soul with a soul-binding nail. But a few days ago, someone removed the soul-binding nail, and everyone at the construction site would face retribution. That night, the exorcist began performing a ritual, intending to lure the woman out. Little did he know, the woman was standing right behind him. Dean, who was sleeping, needed to go to the toilet. When he went outside, he found the exorcist dead on the ground. At the same time, the foreman also noticed the exorcist was missing, but there was a bloody nail on the ground. He thought Dean had killed the exorcist, but the next second, the woman suddenly stopped the foreman. Dean wanted to save the foreman, but at that moment, Dean suddenly saw a vision of the woman's death. It turned out the girl was harming the descendants of the thugs. Then the foreman went to hell. When Dean woke up, he was in the hospital. It turned out that all the workers had died mysteriously the previous night, and the woman was now lying beside